We're going to go back into the taxidermy studio, and I'm going to show you something very exciting and special. I'm going to show you how to create a European mount. Now, what's a European mount? Well, have you seen those mounts where it's just the skull of the deer and the horns? That's a European mount. It originated over in Europe, thus the name. And what I want to show you is how you can create your own European mount with an artificial skull. In this case, this is one that I completed that's been copper plated as well as antiqued. And this is one of the very interesting techniques I'm going to show you throughout this episode. It's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be a project that you can do at home and put in your den with pride and show all your buddies and your family the deer that you got and mounted with a European mount.
Welcome back to Taxidermy for the Sportsman. In our last episode, we went through the processes of creating a professional antler mount with an antler cover. And you know, that's the way that the majority of racks are presented on the wall. But lately, a new type of way of presenting the rack on the wall has gained popularity, and that's called a European mount. A European mount that uses a nice white bleached out skull, such as this. It has a nice kind of southwestern, kind of Native American look, and a lot of more and more sportsmen are looking at this direction for putting their antlers up on their wall. Now, this rack right here has been done with what they call thermostat beetles. These are actual flesh-eating beetles that you put the skull right in a colony. And a colony of beetles is absolutely hundreds of thousands of beetles. And they just get in there, and through all the nasal cavities and everything, they eat all the flesh away, and then you're just left with the skull. But what do you do if you want a European mount and you don't have the skull of the deer anymore? Well, fortunately, there is an alternative. And that alternative is a recreation European mount. This is an actual cast of a deer skull. And it's cast in a bone white casting material. And what we're able to do is take the skull plate of our deer rack and secure it right in place. And we have what's called skull antler putty, and we're able to smooth that out over the antler base and flush it and feather it right in to the casting. And so you don't really need the skull. You can actually create a European mount with an artificial casting and just a regular set of antlers. So whether you have the skull and you use the thermostat beetles, or you just have a rack, you can create your own European mount. And this right here is a European mount that was created with the cast skull system. So let's take a look at what we're going to be using to create this beautiful mount. Now, this is the rack that we're going to be creating our European mount with. And if we take it and just do just a quick little basic fit, you can see that we have a little bit extra skull down here that needs to be trimmed off. And the way that we can tell that is that the skull, the bridge of the skull, is higher than the bridge of the cast skull. We want them in exact alignment with each other. So we're going to need to cut a little bit of this material off right here to bring it down. Now, if we look at that, it looks like about 1/4 of an inch, right? So we really only need to cut about 1/4 of an inch off right here. Now, if you're forward like this is steeper, right? And that's incorrect. If you're back like that, it's not as steep. You want to match up the plane, the silhouette of the skull with the silhouette of the bridge of the artificial cast skull. They should be in perfect, flush silhouette alignment. So I'm going to go over to the bandsaw and cut a little bit of this off and take a look at it. You can see I've trimmed a little bit off here, and the bridge of our skull is still a little bit too high, so I need to come back and take that off a little bit more. Now, the one